and welcome to another episode of the Robin Knits podcast. Although this is not a regular podcast episode, this is kind of a fall planning video. And if this is something you would enjoy, I hope you stick around and let me give you company for a while. I am Rhoda and I'm coming to you from Canada. I live in Toronto with my husband Sam, and this is something I started recently because I've been enjoying knitting more than I thought I would, and I just feel it's nice to sit down and talk to people who have the same kind of hobby instead of people who really do not want to hear about knitting more than they need to. Now with the planning video in particular, summer was a little of a disappointment to me because I sat down, I planned, but then I did not have enough time to execute everything I planned. If I had the regular amount of time I usually have for knitting, I might have probably finished it, but we were on the road most of the time, and it wasn't like I was able to knit while I was on the road as well, because we were planning about what to do when we got to different places and just sorting work and different things even while traveling. So it has been a tad busy, and I'm hoping to take a break from all of that sometime soon. So with my summer knitting not going as I planned, I wanted to make sure my fall knitting planning was a little more flexible, something that I already had yarn for, and so I'm not going to be overthinking, over purchasing, and just wanted to see how I can match patterns to the yarn and how I can use them. So I thought I'll do it this way. I'll start with the cardigans I have in mind. I do not have too many cardigans, and I wanted to make sure I have quite a few of them. Somehow I like the idea of it being a layering piece. I find it to be very comforting, very cozy, and something that could make me feel at home wherever I am. And so I'm hoping to get some nice bulky cardigans and carry them around with me so I can feel that even when we are traveling. So I'll start with the cardigans, and then I'll move on to pullovers, and I guess there's one accessory I have in mind. I'll talk very shortly about that. The first cardigan I had in mind is the Big Cozy Cardi by Andrea Mowry. If you looked at the title, if you looked at the name of the pattern, you would understand what I'm expecting out of cardigans. And so I have decided to use this yarn. It's called Loft. It is a Hello Stella fiber, and I don't know if she still has this particular yarn in store, this particular base. This is American Targhee Columbia wool, and it is a fingering weight yarn. Now the pattern requires sport weight yarn, but this yarn is supposed to fluff up quite a lot. It's supposed to bloom after blocking, and so I'm hoping to knit a swatch and see how I can manipulate either the needle size or maybe go down or up a pattern size based on what the swatch looks like. If you look at the yarn, you may understand that it is a little more thicker than fingering weight yarn, although I don't know how people figure that when you're looking at a video. But yes, I personally, when I'm looking at the yarn, I feel it's a little thicker. Now whether it would fall under the fingering weight range or not, no matter what the gauge is looking like, I would have to do some math to make sure this fits into the pattern, because this is the yarn that I am going to be using for that particular pattern. And the colorway for this, by the way, I feel this is a yarn that is a little difficult to capture on camera. I'm trying to move it as much as possible, but I still feel it's coming out to be very deep blue. But actually it has it's almost like a variegated yarn, and it has some nice greens in it as well. It's supposed to be spilled petroleum or something like that. It's supposed to be like the oil on water, what it feels like, and I feel the dyer did a good job making sure that idea translates onto yarn. And I love the color. When I looked at just the color name, I fell for it. And so I want this to be in that. I want this to become that cardigan, and that is what this is going to be used for. Now this cardigan also comes with a nice shawl collar, and this is the yarn I want to use for the shawl collar. This is Camrose Manistrel. I don't know how to say it right, so please forgive me. This is 68% baby alpaca, 20% merino, 16% polyamide, and 4% polyester. Now this is the kind of yarn that has a very very subtle sheen, very subtle shimmer to it. If you can look at it, it's actually sparkly, and so I'm hoping to add this to the collar and wear it all through the holiday season. The next cardigan I was looking at, again incidentally, is sparkly yarn, and this is supposed to become the Maggie cardigan by Petite Knit. This is what the skein of yarn looks like. This is Stellina from Surala Yarn. This is what the caked ball looks like. I have tried to knit this into a couple of other patterns, but it's never worked. Either I did not like how this yarn worked with the pattern, or I just found a better yarn that worked for that pattern and I kept switching. But for the Maggie cardigan, I feel this is a good choice of yarn, and I intend to use this fully for the Maggie cardigan. This again seems to be a very holiday based yarn, especially because of the dark color. The main fiber is a pretty dark color, and the shimmer, the Stellina, seems to stand out pretty well. And so I want to make sure that I use this for the Maggie cardigan, again to get the most use out of it during the holiday. But this is not going to be like the big cozy cardigan that I want that very cocoony, comfy feeling out of, but I want this to be a little more structured. I wouldn't mind if it's a little closer to the body as well, because I want to wear it again for dress occasions and not just for the cozy vibes. The modification I'm thinking of making to this cardigan is to have longer sleeves instead of the short sleeve version that is usually there on the pattern. I'm hoping to lengthen the sleeves. I think I have enough yarn to do that. I have about 1700 yards of this yarn, and so I'm hoping it would be enough. But I'll probably work the cardigan first and work both the sleeves simultaneously to see if I could make sure that both the sleeves are the same length and stop where the yarn stops. The last cardigan I had in mind is the Brady Loop cardigan by Other Loops, and it's a beautiful cardigan. Again, it has it's a pretty simple cardigan. It has cables running across the back, and the cables run on, it goes on into the arms without breaking, and I just like that design feature. Even though it's a very simple cardigan, I feel that makes it very elegant and gives it a different kind of look. I had this yarn in stash. This is Knit Picks Woodland Tweed, and this is in the colorway Spotted Owl. Now this cardigan is not for me, it's going to be a gift knit, and this is for one of my best friends who has just moved to Belfast, and she's going to come to visit in December for Christmas, and so I'm hoping to have it ready by then to give it to her as a Christmas gift. The idea behind this cardigan is a very personal one. I want this cardigan to feel like a personal hug. When she wears it, I want it to be something she wears around the house, or if she's walking down the lane to a store, something that she could just immediately throw on and be okay with wearing. So the pattern actually requires worsted weight yarn. This is Aran weight, and so the gauge is going to be tighter. Again, this is one of those things where whether the gauge works or not, I am going to do the math to make it work. Unfortunately, I have to, because this is the only yarn of this quantity I have in stash, and I wanted this to be a workhorse yarn. I wanted this to be a sweater that she does not worry, a cardigan she does not have to worry about getting dirty or being very particular about. I don't want it to be a dressy cardigan. I just want it to be comfortable for her. And so with this color, I feel like it just feels very homey, and I'm hoping she enjoys this. So this is going to become the Brady Loop cardigan. And with the pullovers, there are a few things I know I definitely am going to make. There are a few things that are more of process thinking, and I'll probably do the definite ones first and then do the process ones later. So the first one, that's a definite yes, and you will see how definite it is because I have already cast on and started working on it. This is the Shifty by Andrea Mowry. And I had a bunch of yarn that was like a fade set. The reason I cast this on and I'm so excited about this is because the fade set is completely fall themed. I'll put a picture of it here. And so I wanted to wear it before the leaves turn fully orange and red and try and take pictures with with fall in the background. So this is what it's looking like as of now. You might see I have made a little change to the pattern itself. I'll talk a little more about it in my next podcast, but this is what my shifty pullover is starting to look like. I am very excited with how it's looking. I like the dark color on top. The bottom is going to be red, and I like how it's working out. It is pretty slow, it is pretty tedious, and I don't know if I'll be done in time, but I'm going to work hard to try and make sure I finish it. The yarn that I used for this, I purchased on Etsy long ago. When I'm saying long ago, it was still during my crochet days, so I'm thinking it's about 2 years ago. That's when I was learning to crochet and I did not understand what Canadian money looked like. I had purchased a bunch of this yarn on Etsy. I'll put the name of the dyer on the screen because I don't remember the name of the dyer anymore, but she did an amazing job. She also had tiny stitch markers with each skein, and the stitch markers had a different color too. I did not know those were stitch markers. I thought they were safety pins and I threw them away. Now that I know what they are, I wish I had them around. The next pullover I know for sure that I'm making is the Cinema Sweater by Veronica Lindberg. It is a DK weight sweater. I want to make this sweater to wear over dresses. This I want to be like a throw-on pullover and not something as structured or fancy as the shifty. And so I wanted to make it in a neutral color. So the yarn I picked for this sweater is called Moon Dust. It is from, I don't remember, I don't know if it is Studio 715, but I'll put the name of the yarn store again over here. They were closing and they had a closing sale, which is when I decided I'll go ahead and purchase this yarn. This is Cashmerino Sock. It's 70% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon, and it's beautiful. This is what it looks like. It has a very neutral cream background. When I'm saying neutral cream, it's a little warmer cream, and it has speckles. It has gray speckles on it. I'm going to try and hold the yarn double just to make sure the speckles are evenly distributed throughout the sweater, and that way I'll be able to enjoy it without being distracted by any color pooling anywhere. This again, I'm hoping for it to be a comfort wear, and so I am going to try and make sure I include the ease that's recommended, and just to make sure it's okay for me to wear it over pants instead of dresses. That's the kind of sweater vibe I want to go for with this one. Now this particular pullover is a maybe. It is a maybe because I don't really need it right now, but I feel the colors again would be nice for winter. This is yarn from a chick that knits. This is the colorway Nighthawk. It's a superwash merino wool, and this is from her as well. I know the colorway is called Merlot. I've had this yarn again in stash for quite some time. So I have 2 skeins of this variegated color, and I have 1 skein of the main color. And I was hoping that I will be able to make a lento out of it, which is why I was saying this is like a maybe. I may make it, I may not. The lento again, for me, every time I've looked at the pattern, it is like a comfort knit. It's just tuck knit. It's going to finish fast. And so if there is a weekend where I feel really stressed out, or I know we are going to be on the road really long and I'm not going to be driving, I'll probably cast this on and take it with me. So it's going to be mindless knitting. I don't have to look at the stitches, and so I won't feel nauseous, hopefully. Also, the yarn is DK weight yarn and not a fingering weight yarn. The needle's going to be bigger, which means the stitches are going to be bigger, and so I wouldn't have to strain my eyes when I'm knitting while driving. While Sam's driving and I'll be sitting on the other side. I'll be the passenger princess just knitting away. So this is a pattern that I'm yet to decide on, but it's very tempting to cast on. So I'm going to put it away, see how things go, and cast it on if I have the time for it. My next maybe sweater is going to be DRK Everyday Sweater. Again, that is a DK weight pattern. It's a round yoke, and I'm hoping to hold these 2 yarns together. This is Drops Alpaca in the colorway Petroleum Blue, I guess. And this is Knitting for Olive Dusty Petroleum Blue. And I am going to hold these two together. I know they don't look like a great match, but that's okay. I want to tone down the green from here and make it more neutral. And so I'm hoping holding it together is going to give it more even, give the color more evenness, and just try to tone it down a little. Again, this is a maybe sweater if I have the time. And another reason I picked this sweater is because it's mindless knitting in the round again, and it's going to be more of a stress relief sweater than a finished a required finished object. The only problem with sweaters like this where it's just mindless knitting is that I feel like I would gravitate more towards it every now and then. Let's say I'm watching something or I'm in a meeting and I need to keep my hands busy. I would probably just pick a sweater like this and I'll get it done quick. If I'm halfway through the sweater, I feel like I just need to focus on it and get it done, and I might finish it before I want to finish it. And that is the only issue I have with the last two sweaters I spoke about. And this is going to be a gift knit. This is my ongoing saga, the sibling sweater. So I finished two already, and this is going to be my last one. This is Sadness Garden Duo, the yellow colorway, and the kit or the white colorway. So I'm going to give all three of the sweaters to the kids at Christmas. I'm happy that I'm almost at the finish. It feels wonderful to finish three sibling sweaters. It feels nice to have done some kids knits, and now I am craving for a striped sweater of my own. Again, that's something I'll think about probably next season, but as of now, I don't have time for it. This is my last pullover. This is going to be a gift knit as well, and I have not picked a pattern for this, but the person I'm knitting this for is going to turn 40 this year, so I'm excited about making something for her. This is going to be the main color. This is Knit Picks Twill. Oh, let me show you the label instead. This is Knit Picks Twill in the colorway Horacha Heather. I got this before they discontinued this yarn, revamped it and brought it back. So now you do not find it in the ball form anymore. You find it in 100 grams canes. This is the 50-gram ball. And I have used this in my Hepatica sweater, and every time I wear my Hepatica sweater, this person has always complimented it and said she loves the color. And so I decided to keep this yarn aside for her and make sure I use this as on a sweater for her. Now I'm hoping to make some kind of change, some kind of a sweater that's going to be a little different. I want to make sure I either add the second color. This is again Knit Picks Twill, and this is in the colorway Merlin Heather. This is a discontinued colorway, so I want to use this as the contrast color, either as very minimal stripes or as a colorwork motif. I'm not really sure because these are superwash yarns as well. It isn't like you cannot use superwash yarns in colorwork at all, but I just want to make sure my floats are shorter and I leave enough of the tail to make sure it does not unravel. So this, I'm hoping, would go well together. Maybe a plain sweater, and the edge I would add some color work. I'm not really sure. I'm still thinking about it, and I will of course keep you updated. I have one slipover pattern that I have been thinking about, and this is the Lulu Slipover by Petite Knit. This is a DK weight pattern and it uses 4mm needles, and I was hoping I could use this yarn. This is the Divina yarn, or Divina? Yeah, Divina yarn by Hobbii, and this is 65% baby alpaca, 25% polyamide, and 10% merino wool. I'm assuming the polyamide are the tubes and the wool is blown through it. This is more like a blown yarn. I'm trying to get a strand. This is, by the way, very sticky yarn, and it's very difficult to unravel it. So this is what a strand of it looks like. I feel when I'm looking at it, it falls more towards the worsted weight range, but again, this is blown yarn, and so I can go ahead and probably use the 4mm needles. I am going to try and do the gauge swatch, of course, and then take a call. When I'm looking at the needle sizes recommended for this yarn, it says 4 to 5.5mm needles, so I don't know if I'll be able to make it work, but this is something I want to use for the Lulu Slipover. Now the last one I have definite plans for is an accessory, and this is a beret. This is by Two of Wands. I'm gonna quickly look at the name of the beret. So this is the Margot striped beret. I don't know if I'm saying it right. It looks very French, which is one of the reasons I probably did not remember it. I have used the exact same yarns to make a beret before, and that was a gift knit. Now I want to hold this with one of the alpaca lace yarns. I have some leftover from my April cardigan, and I want to hold that with this to make the same beret. It's still going to have the stripes, but it's going to have a strand of really deep brown chocolatey yarn that is running throughout the beret, and it's going to add a little more dimension. I'm hoping to make this for myself to wear around the city for just, again, those comfy cozy vibes, but also look a little nice and dressed up. So winter does get to me. In particular, Sam is absolutely okay with winter, but for me it's a little difficult time, which is why I want to add some pops of color. I want to add some life into my knitting. So I didn't want it to be just gray and cream. I wanted to add some brown in it. I want to make sure that it gives me some reason to walk out, just wear my fresh knits and take a stroll on the streets. Now this, I think, would also explain to you why I have a little more colorful yarn selected for winter. There are a lot of blues, there are a lot of teals, I realized. There is a little red, there's sparkles, and one yellow. I'm hoping that the fall knitting would go better than my summer knitting, that I'll be able to get a little more done, especially because this would also be gift knitting season. Now with the gift knits in particular, I have mentioned two of them. I did mention the pullover and the sibling sweater, but there's gonna be a lot more gift knitting. I know I'm going to be making a lot of hats, maybe mittens. I doubt about the mittens unless it's worsted weight. I do not want to make fingering weight mittens again. I did the penny gloves and it took a lot of pain to get the second pair done, and so I want to put off making mittens for a while. I think I'm okay with hats. Anything that has to go in pairs, I am probably not going to be very happy working on it right now. So I don't know how my gift knitting is going to go, but I am going to share with you everything that happens as it changes, as it happens, as inspiration strikes me. There is a lot of scrap yarn around the house, and I want to make sure I put them together and make sure somebody else can use it, make it into products that someone else could use it, and it can be a wonderful part of our winter, of our Christmas gifting as well. So if you want to see how all of this knitting goes, if you are curious about whether I'm going to finish what I have talked about, if I'm going to complete all of the plans, if I'm going to meet the deadlines, if I'm going to be able to finish what I've decided I would finish, I hope you would join me for the podcast episode, see how it's going. And there are times I might need your advice, I might need suggestions, maybe look at alternate patterns or modifications, and it would be lovely if you could give me your inputs and suggestions, and we could talk a little more about what fall knitting looks like for each of us. So if you have any fall knitting plans, if you are looking at a few patterns that have been inspiring you, please feel free to put it down in the comments below. I wouldn't mind taking a look at it. If you've noticed, there are a couple of wobbly plans, like the Lento and the DRK Everyday Sweater, and I'm open to receiving ideas and suggestions. I am a fairly new knitter, and I'll be very happy to hear what others have to say about any other patterns that are out there and you think would suit my style and you think I would benefit out of. With that, I'll say goodbye. Thank you for sticking around. I know this was not a very long video, but thank you for sticking around and being a part of this. Like I said, if there's any pattern that you are excited about, feel free to put it down in the comments and I will respond to you when I can. I hope you have a wonderful time. I hope you are enjoying your knitting, and I hope I get to see you soon. Bye-bye.